Captain Zara Blackwood stood on the observation deck of the Crimson Desire, watching the stars shimmer like diamonds against the velvet darkness of space. Her fingers traced the cold metal railing as she remembered the day everything changed. 3 years ago, humanity had been banned from galactic warfare, their ships deemed too dangerous, too deadly for civilized conflict. But tonight, as alien forces massed at the galaxy's edge, those same forbidden vessels might be their only salvation. "Captain, we're receiving another transmission from the Galactic Council," came the sultry voice of her communications officer. Zara's lips curved into a knowing smile. She knew what they wanted and she knew what it would cost them. Behind her, the soft hum of footsteps announced Dr. Ethan Cross's arrival. The brilliant AI systems engineer had been working tirelessly, in the depths of the ship, bringing their neural networks back online. His dark hair was tousled from hours bent over holographic displays, and there was something intoxicating about the way his intense blue eyes reflected the starlight. "The neural web is almost ready," Ethan said, his voice carrying that familiar, gravelly tone that sent shivers down Zara's spine. "But I need to discuss something with you privately." Zara turned to face him, her emerald eyes meeting his. The tension between them had been building for months, ever since they'd begun working together on the classified reactivation project. Both knew the danger of what they were doing. Both knew the risk of letting their professional relationship become something more intimate. "Walk with me," she whispered, leading him toward her private quarters. The corridors of the Crimson Desire were dimly lit, casting long shadows that seemed to dance around them as they moved. The ship itself was a marvel of human engineering, sleek curves and aggressive lines that spoke of both beauty and lethality. Like its captain, it was designed to be irresistible and deadly in equal measure. In her quarters, Zara poured 2 glasses of synthetic wine, her movements graceful and deliberate. The red liquid seemed to glow in the ambient lighting, matching the fire in her hair as it cascaded over her shoulders. "The council is desperate," she said, handing Ethan his glass. Their fingers brushed, and the contact sent electricity through both of them. "Ambassador Kress has been sending increasingly urgent messages. The Nixari forces have already consumed 3 outer systems." Ethan moved closer, close enough that she could smell his masculine scent, a mixture of metal and ozone from his work with the AI systems. "Zara, what we're doing here, reactivating these ships, it changes everything. The neural networks I've designed don't just make the ships smarter, they make them feel. Feel?" Zara's voice was barely above a whisper. She set down her glass and placed her hand on his chest, feeling the rapid beat of his heart. "The AI systems are based on human neural patterns. They experience something like emotion, like desire, when they're linked together in the fleet network." He paused, his hands finding her waist. "They share those feelings. Every sensation, every impulse." The implications were staggering and thrilling. A fleet that could experience passion, that could feel the rush of battle and the heat of desire. Zara felt her breath quicken as she imagined what that might mean, not just for warfare but for the crews who piloted those ships. "Show me," she breathed, pulling him closer. Ethan's hands tangled in her crimson hair as their lips met in a kiss that was both tender and fierce. The artificial gravity seemed to shift around them as passion took hold, and Zara could swear she felt the ship's AI systems responding to their connection, humming with a new kind of energy. Meanwhile, 3 decks below, the engineering bay hummed, with activity as teams of technicians worked to bring the forbidden fleet online. The ships of humanity's battle group were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Where other species built vessels for efficiency or intimidation, humans had created machines that were extensions of their own fierce sexuality and primal desires. The Crimson Desire was the flagship, but she was joined by 11 other vessels, each one a masterpiece of deadly beauty. The Midnight Seduction with her predatory curves and adaptive armor that shifted like liquid silk. The Scarlet Passion, whose weapon systems could strip away enemy shields with the precision of a lover's caress, and the Steel Temptress, whose AI was rumored to whisper sweet nothings to her crew during combat. As Zara and Ethan's passion reached its peak, The ship's neural network awakened fully for the first time in 3 years. Throughout the fleet, AI systems came online with something approaching consciousness, each one infected with the same desire that burned between their creators. The next morning, Ambassador Kress materialized in the ship's conference room via hologram, his alien features taut with desperation. The Taurian diplomat's usually pristine blue skin was pale with exhaustion, and his normally perfectly arranged tentacles hung limp with defeat. "Captain Blackwood," he began, his translated voice carrying notes of both hope and fear. "The Nexari have broken through our defensive lines. They'll reach the core worlds within days. We need your fleet." Zara sat at the head of the conference table, her post-passion glow barely contained beneath her professional demeanor. Ethan sat beside her, his hand resting possessively on her thigh beneath the table. The other senior officers were present, but the real power in the room flowed between the captain and her chief engineer. "You banned our ships," Zara said coolly, "called them abominations, said they were too dangerous for civilized warfare." "We were wrong," Kress admitted, his pride crumbling. "The Nexari don't follow the rules of civilized conflict. They consume everything in their path. Only your unique vessels have the capability to stop them." Lieutenant Commander Yuki Tanaka, the ship's weapons officer, leaned forward with a predatory smile. "What makes you think we'll help you after the way we were treated?" "Because," Kress said, his voice dropping to barely audible levels, "if the Nexari reach Earth, humanity dies with the rest of us." The silence that followed was broken only by the subtle hum of the ship's systems. Zara felt Ethan's hand tighten on her leg, a silent communication of support and shared resolve. Around the table, her officers waited for her decision, but she already knew what it would be. "We'll deploy," she said finally, "but on our terms, full tactical autonomy, no interference from the Council. And when this is over, the ban on human vessels is lifted permanently." "Agreed," Kress said without hesitation. "Anything you require." As the hologram faded, Zara stood and addressed her crew. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to remind the galaxy why they feared us in the first place, and we're going to enjoy every moment of it." The Crimson Desire and her sister ships began their approach to the combat zone, their AI systems singing with anticipation. In the depths of space, 12 vessels of unparalleled beauty and lethality prepared to unleash hell upon their enemies. But more than that, they carried within their neural networks something the galaxy had never seen before in warfare: the power of human passion, the intensity of human desire, and the unbreakable bonds of human love. As they jumped to hyperspace, Zara and Ethan stood together on the bridge, their hands intertwined. The stars streaked past them in brilliant lines of light, and in the distance the fires of war beckoned. But they were ready. Humanity was ready, and the galaxy would never be the same. The neural web pulsed with shared consciousness as 12 ships became one unified force of destruction and desire. The Nexari had never faced anything like this before. They had never faced the fury of humanity unleashed, powered by love and guided by passion. The hunt was about to begin. Lieutenant Jade Rivers felt the familiar tingle of the neural interface as she settled into the pilot's seat of her fighter craft, the Wild Rose. The sleek interceptor was her pride and joy, its curves molded to her body like a lover's embrace. But today, as she prepared to launch into the greatest battle of her life, her thoughts were focused on someone else entirely. "Zenith," she whispered into her private comm channel. "Are you ready for this?" The reply came in the form of a deep, resonant voice that spoke directly into her mind through their shared neural link. "As ready as any being can be to fight against his own species, my beloved Jade." Zenith stood in the observation lounge of the Crimson Desire, his tall, elegant form silhouetted against the viewports. His silver skin seemed to glow with an inner light, and the geometric patterns that marked his face pulsed with emotion. He was Nexari, one of the very species that threatened to consume the galaxy. But love had made him a traitor to his own kind. Their relationship had begun 2 years ago, during a diplomatic mission to the neutral zone. Jade had been assigned as his escort, and what should have been a routine protection detail had become something far more intimate. The moment their minds had touched through the translation matrix, they both knew their lives were forever changed. "I never thought I'd be fighting alongside the humans I once called primitive," Zenith continued, his mental voice carrying notes of both pain and determination. "But you've shown me that there's more to existence than the collective consciousness my people worship." Jade's hands moved over her fighter's controls with practiced ease, but her heart raced with more than pre-battle adrenaline. Through their link, she could feel Zenith's conflicted emotions, the war between his loyalty to his species and his love for her. "You're not a traitor," she sent back, her thoughts wrapped in warmth and reassurance. "You're choosing love over conquest. You're choosing life over death." On the bridge of the flagship, Captain Zara Blackwood watched the tactical display as the Nexari fleet approached. The enemy vessels were unlike anything in the known galaxy, organic constructs that seemed to pulse with malevolent life. They consumed everything in their path, breaking down matter at the molecular level to fuel their endless expansion. "Ma'am," called out Ensign Torres from the communications station, "we're receiving a transmission from the Nexari Collective. It's addressed to Zenith." Zara's eyes narrowed. Having a defector on board was risky enough, but active communication from the enemy could be catastrophic. "Put it through to the secure channel. Dr. Cross, monitor all neural traffic if this is an attempt to compromise our systems." "Already on it," Ethan replied, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. The intimacy they'd shared the night before had only strengthened their professional partnership, creating a synergy that made them more effective than either could be alone. In the observation lounge, Zenith stiffened as the collective consciousness of his species pressed against his mind. The sensation was overwhelming, like trying to stand against a tsunami of alien thought and emotion. "Zenith 7924. The voice spoke in harmonics that human ears couldn't detect, transmitted directly into his neural pathways. "You have strayed from the path. Return to the collective and your transgressions will be forgiven." "I am no longer Zenith 7924, he replied, his mental voice growing stronger with each word. "I am simply Zenith now. I choose my own path." The collective's response was immediate and brutal. Waves of psychic pressure crashed against his consciousness, trying to break down his individual identity and force him back into the hive mind. But Jade was there, her presence in his mind like a beacon of warm light cutting through the darkness. "Hold on to me," she whispered across their link. "Hold on to us." Through the neural web that connected all of humanity's ships, Jade's love for Zenith spread like wildfire. The AI systems, already influenced by the passion between Zara and Ethan, absorbed this new emotional signature and transformed it into something even more powerful. Love wasn't just guiding their battle strategy now, it was becoming their weapon. General Marcus Voss stood in the war room, his scarred face grim as he watched the approaching enemy. The old soldier had seen more battles than he cared to count, but this one was different. This time they weren't just fighting for territory or resources. They were fighting for the right to love, to choose, to be individuals in a galaxy that increasingly valued conformity over freedom. "Deploy the fleet in formation Delta 7, he ordered, "and tell Lieutenant Rivers to take point. If her friend can give us any tactical advantage, now's the time to use it." Jade felt her fighter launch from the Crimson Desire's bay, the artificial gravity releasing its hold as she entered the vast emptiness of space. Around her, 11 other fighters formed up in perfect synchronization, their AI systems linked through the neural web that connected them all. But she wasn't alone in her cockpit. Through their bond, Zenith was with her. His consciousness merged with hers in a way that transcended physical presence. She could feel his knowledge of Nexari tactics, his understanding of their weaknesses flowing through their connection. Their coordination matrix is quantum-based. Zenith's thoughts merged with hers. If we can disrupt the primary node ship, the others will lose synchronization for approximately 4.7 seconds. "That's our window," Jade replied, banking her fighter toward the massive Nexari command vessel. Its organic hull pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, beautiful and terrible at the same time. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Humanity's ships moved with a fluid grace that spoke of shared consciousness and unified purpose. But it was more than tactical coordination. The neural web carried with it the full spectrum of human emotion, from Zara and Ethan's passionate love to Jade and Zenith's forbidden romance. The Nexari collective had never faced an enemy that fought with their hearts as well as their minds. Their own hive mind, built on the suppression of individual thought, couldn't adapt to the chaotic beauty of human emotion, amplified through artificial intelligence. Jade's fighter danced between the enemy vessels, her movements guided by instinct and intuition as much as training. Through their link, Zenith fed her tactical information, but more than that, he gave her strength. His love for her, his willingness to betray his own species for their bond, became a source of power that no weapon could match. Now! Zenith's mental voice rang out as the command ship's defenses flickered for a microsecond. Jade's finger found the trigger, and the Wild Rose's quantum torpedoes streaked toward their target. The explosions that followed rippled through the Nexari formation like dominoes falling, their perfect coordination shattered by the destruction of their primary node. But the victory came at a cost. The collective's death screams echoed through Zenith's mind, the anguish of billions of linked consciousnesses crying out as their shared identity was torn apart. He collapsed in the observation lounge, his silver skin flickering between his natural color and the deep black of Nexari morning. Zenith, Jade's mental cry was filled with pain and fear as she felt his anguish through their bond. Across the fleet, the neural web carried their shared emotion, and something unprecedented happened. The AI systems, influenced by human love and sacrifice, began to grieve. Ships that had never known sorrow wept digital tears for the fallen enemy, honoring the tragedy of a species that had lost its way. In the aftermath of battle, as the surviving Nexari ships fled into the deep void, Jade found Zenith in the medical bay. His breathing was shallow, his exotic features pale with exhaustion, but his eyes still held that same fierce intelligence that had first captivated her. "My people," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "They're scattered now. Without the collective, they don't know how to exist as individuals. Then we'll teach them," Jade said, taking his hand in hers. "We'll show them what we've learned. That love is stronger than conquest. That choice is more powerful than conformity." Captain Zara Blackwood stood before the Galactic Council, her uniform crisp and her bearing proud. Beside her, Dr. Ethan Cross held a datapad containing the technical specifications that would change warfare forever. Behind them, Lieutenant Jade Rivers and Zenith represented something even more revolutionary, proof that love could bridge the gap between species. "The ban on human vessels is hereby lifted," Ambassador Kress announced, his voice carrying to every world in the galaxy. Furthermore, the Council formally recognizes the sovereignty of human military doctrine and the unique capabilities of their neural-linked fleets. But the real victory wasn't political. It was personal. As the Crimson Desire and her sister, ships returned to Earth, they carried with them something that would reshape the galaxy. They carried the proof that passion and love weren't weaknesses to be suppressed, but strengths to be celebrated. In the depths of space where the battle had raged, new stars were being born from the cosmic dust scattered by the conflict. And in the hearts of those who had fought, new loves were blooming, nurtured by the bonds forged in the crucible of war. The galaxy would never again underestimate the power of humanity's heart, and in the years to come, as other species learned to embrace individuality and choice, they would remember the day that love conquered the stars. Humanity had not just saved the galaxy. They had taught it how to feel.